Good morning. It's Lisa from Lisa Heal Yourself, and today I want to talk about a heavy topic. I want to talk about suicide. And I want to talk about pain as it relates to suicide and why people choose suicide and what they can do to not choose suicide. So, first I want to start out by saying that, for years I wanted to kill myself second by second, literally millisecond by millisecond for about 3.5 years in total, every single day, because the pain that was in my physical body was so excruciating that I could not tolerate, right? From everything from lightning zaps to buzzing and burning all over. I literally felt like I was being tortured alive in my own skin. And it was all I could do to hold on, to stay alive, to endure it. And so it's really interesting because I'm the type of person who grew up in a great home, Catholic upbringing, and suicide was completely frowned upon. And I literally judged people, and I thought to myself, how could anybody ever be in a position where things could be bad enough that they could want to kill themselves? And I never thought I would find out firsthand. So without going into all those gory details, I do want to talk about pain and the ways people try to deal with it. The only ways that we can deal with intense pain, whether it's physical or emotional, and that is either escaping it, numbing it, transferring it, or ultimately ending it. And so when we're escaping it, a lot of people will try escapism first. It's the easiest and least harmful, and people who are in pain want to try to escape it. So they'll go to great lengths to isolate, to distract, right? Those people who distract with all their to-do lists, all their things, anything but thinking about the pain. And it's a good coping mechanism. I mean, people have to do it. Distraction. And some people take it to escapism, where they literally will leave everything that all their friends, all their family, their children, their husband. They will go into deep, dark isolation. They would live on a remote island if they could, so that nobody has to see or witness or feel this pain. They try to escape it. They will, travel to the tops of mountaintops. They're running from it. They're trying to escape it and isolating so that no one else has to see them experience it, or no one else has to feel it in any way. So that's one method, of coping with pain, to escape it. The second one is to numb it. And people do this through all kinds of various ways, like eating, overeating. You've ever seen people who will just open up a jar of ice cream to numb their pain. People will exercise or do an extreme sport or do a hobby, something, they'll numb their pain in some way through food, maybe drinking, gambling, sex, even, to the most extreme would be self-harm, cutting, and all kinds of things. But there's lots of things people do to try to numb their pain, right? To try to feel some form of pleasure, something that's worse. We're trying to numb it. We're trying to numb this pain. So there's many ways that you can do that. Transferring the pain. So there are people who literally can't escape it. They can't numb it enough. They don't know what else to do. So they transfer their pain. And this is in the form of yelling at others, rage, screaming. They may hurt others. They may, they may do something mean to others, talk badly to others. In extreme cases, this is where people rape people, sexually abuse people, kill people. They're transferring their pain onto others. They can't handle their pain, so it's being transferred because pain has to move. It can't sit, right? So we escape it or we numb it, and if we can't do those two things, people will sometimes transfer their pain. in unhealthy ways, and then in some very extreme, damaging, hateful ways. And this is all because of pain. And then the last way is, of course, suicide, is, of course, to end it, right? None of the other coping mechanisms have worked at this point. They literally can't escape it enough. They cannot numb it enough. They cannot transfer it enough. Nothing will work. They cannot escape this pain in any way. And so they end it, right? And this is when I don't believe anybody ever wants to kill themselves. This isn't wanting to take your life. I've learned that now. Suicide isn't wanting to take your life. It's wanting to escape the pain and having no other means left to do it. You literally can't take it for one more second. You can't take another ounce of the physical or mental or emotional pain. You can't take another wound. You can't take another disappointment. You literally can't withstand it, or endure it anymore. And none of the other ways are powerful enough to have you endure. And it just gets to be the last straw. So people are looking for a way to escape their pain. That's the ultimate escape of pain, wanting to end pain. Not wanting to end your life, never wanting to end your life, but wanting to end the pain. So I hope that you can see from this video, you can be sensitive, you can be empathetic to people who are in this position, and even with yourself, right? Even with yourself. I don't know why I stood up. Maybe I was going to start walking, but I realized that maybe walking and talking about this is too sensitive for people who are just passing me on trails. But another thing I wanted to say was, we're often very hard on ourselves when we find ourselves self-isolating, and using escapism techniques, right? Where we're trying to distract, and distracting techniques. And we're often very hard on ourselves when we realize that we're doing a numbing technique, like drinking or smoking or overeating or over-exercising or whatever it is. We can be very hard on ourselves, and we add a lot of shame and guilt to our pile, right? Or if we're transferring it, we've exploded at someone, we've yelled at someone, we've lashed out at someone, we've done something to transfer our pain, right? Because we can't take it anymore. We're often very self-critical, we're often very judgmental of ourselves, and we add shame and guilt. The stories of shame and guilt start to pile up when we have chronic pain or chronic illness, because we realize this isn't how we want to be acting, but we have no other choice. We need to escape the pain some way. So we're using all these methods that make us feel bad about ourselves, that give us low self-esteem, and that make us feel, that add to the shame, that add to the already pile of grief and anger and frustration and shame and self-hate and self-loathing and despair and disappointment and hopelessness, right? It adds to it. And truthfully, these techniques that we're doing, these escapism techniques, like these numbing techniques, or even transferring techniques. There are ways that you can transfer your pain in more healthy ways, right? You can eat well, or you can become obsessed with a good diet, or you can become obsessed with doing kind acts for people, or it's still all transferring, it's still all escapism, it's still all numbing, but we can do it in more positive ways. But what happens is we when we're doing this in negative ways, we are so hard on ourselves, and we have to be a little kinder, and we have to remember that this is all subconscious, and this is all about survival. Surviving and enduring the pain is what your brain is just trying to do to keep you alive. And we're very judgmental and self-critical, and we're really good at piling on our own self-shame. It's just adding to our big pile of grief and anger and everything that we've got going on, all these emotions inside. It's not helping, and we really need to see and be kind to ourselves and know that our body's protecting us in these ways. And these ways that we're so hard on ourselves for are actually the ways that are keeping us alive, that are keeping us from getting to the point of ending it, of committing suicide, of saying, I literally can't find another way, right? Because that's just getting to the end of your rope and saying, I can't do this for 1 second longer. And in truth, you can. You can hold on for 1 second longer, and there are more things that you can try. And you've got to stop beating yourself up. If you're escaping, right? If you're trying to run from it or escape from it or numb it, or, you've got to stop seeing yourself as a bad person. You are doing the best you can. Give yourself a break. You're choosing a terrible way, maybe, to handle it, but a less bad way than ending it. So give yourself a break. Be kind to yourself, be loving, and be forgiving. Be forgiving, be so loving to yourself, because you need yourself now more than ever. You need to be able to find ways to hold on so that we don't get to the last step, right? And it always, I'll do more videos on this, but it always comes back to, we need to do the inner work. We need to express how we're feeling. We need to stop hiding and stop running from it, allow ourselves to feel it. We need to love ourselves, be loving, sit with ourselves, stop shaming ourselves. There are so many ways, that you can hold on another second, another day, another minute, and build yourself back up, right? Have more rope. Get yourself some more rope. So if you're in a position right now where you feel hopeless, and you don't think you can go on any farther, I want you to stop blaming yourself or being mad at yourself for all the other coping mechanisms or ways that you have used that you view as terrible and bad and make you a horrible person, and start forgiving yourself and knowing that it's okay. You're going to be okay. You can use those until you can see more clearly, until you can see more clearly, and until you can have enough strength and enough energy and enough reserve to do the emotional inner work that it takes. And you don't have to do this right now. So I just want you to be aware that, pain has to go somewhere, and it will go into one of these spots, unless and until we can choose healthy ways to dig out our pain and to help ease our pain. And yeah, so I want you to know there's hope. Never give up. Never let yourself get to the last of that rope. Hold on. Double tie it. Double tie the rope and hold on. Escape if you must. Transfer if you must. Numb if you must. But don't take that final step. There's more to it. There's light ahead. I promise. I promise. Take it from someone who knows.